to another special comic book episode. I'm your host, Ryan, here. There's a whole... I just had a stroke.
And to the rest of the audience out there for us. I feel like I'm talking to my 3-year-old niece.
Okay, I'm your host, Ryan, here with the other host, Hedge. We've been having a little
What's going on, everybody?
We have a little bit of a laugh session, a little bit of a goof off, a little bit late in the night of this record, but we're getting it done because we have promises to keep. Other things we keep as a house up top. You can listen to us everywhere. Visit us at podcastcore.com for all of our info. Remember, that's podcast C-O-R. Email us at Gmail with the same name. Follow us on all the platforms because we appreciate it. Helps with discoverability. Leave a like and comment where you listen the most. But word of mouth has gotten us this far, so tell a friend to fight back or surrender by listening to the Casuals of Runeterra podcast.
Yeah, and honestly, that's one of the better call outs there because, you know, it's still up to you. You can fight back or you can surrender. You have both options, but you do have to tell a friend.
Yeah. So we're continuing this journey of the Yunara / Xin Zhao / Canon / Zehen story. And we're at the second comic that's very similar to the previous one. So definitely listen to The Truth comic we did in the previous episode. But once again, this is Laurie Goulding. Great work alongside Kudos production on the art side. But also, you know, listen to the previous stuff before you come here. Don't just hop in here. You can, but we've done it this way for a reason, to help you.
Yes. And once again, I said it last episode, I'll say it again here. Laurie Goulding can do no wrong and must be protected at all costs.
We need them for the MMO.
Yes. We need you for so many more years. Please.
So, as always, all good things, all good stories, told in 3 parts. So we start with part 1, and we pick up right where we left off. We're in the trial of Twilight. And we have Bo Yang attacking a very confused Xin Zhao. And he's confused because they were like brothers, and they worked together on the Viscera. And Bo Yang responds that he is only here since there is something that Xin has to address, right? That's the point of these trials. But Xin, in a frantic state, can't really figure out what he needs to address in this specific situation because he believes he did everything he could to save Bo Yang back then.
And there is nothing like one of these good, like, spiritual journeys and reliving horrible traumas.
Yeah.
There's nothing like immediately questioning everything you did because Xin Zhao here is immediately like, I did everything. Please tell me you know that. Oh, fever vision from the peyote. Please tell me you know that I tried my best.
Yeah.
So Xin Zhao's already struggling right off the bat.
Yeah, Bo Yang tries to kind of, give him a bit more, right? So he mentions that, you were always a good fighter. And then Xin sees, during this talk, Xin sees the first man he ever killed with just a mop when the Noxians invaded their ship. And Xin believes, this caused the invading soldiers to actually respect them and have a better outcome for him and Bo Yang. But Bo Yang mentions it didn't because Bo Yang believes that led to them getting special treatment, but they punished the deckhands, the older guys on the ship, because when they got to Noxus, they immediately put them in the Reckoner pits. And obviously they weren't prepared and they died there. So, while Xin became the great Viscera, while Bo Yang got to be by his side, the others suffered. And that's the question, essentially, that Xin Zhao has to contend with.
And it's honestly a very good question because as we did cover in Xin Zhao's story, he is a very gifted fighter and he did very well in the Reckoning pits. And it wasn't any shortcomings of his own that made him start questioning the state of Noxus. It wasn't until he got out of the Reckoner pits and having to fight in war and realizing that war is very different than the arena.
Yep.
that he started questioning his own martial prowess. But all of that is focusing on himself. We don't talk about the rest of his shipmates who were there. We don't know what time frame that they even survived. They all could have just died on like the first week of
Yeah.
being in mainland Noxus. So it's a really good question to start asking yourself there, because they're not here anymore.
Yeah.
So was it really a blessing for them that, like, oh, don't worry, Zid Zhao's a respected warrior, go die next to him?
Yeah. Yeah. And while this is happening, they now jump from the ship to the coast of Kalstead, where we now know this is where Bo Yang died, alongside Zin. And Bo's laying there dying, and Zin's holding him. And Bo asks him, was the fighting worth it, or should you have given up without fighting? And suddenly a voice tells him to rise before he can answer Bo Yang. This goes to, obviously, the intro we did for our cheese line about fighting back or surrendering. And to Hetch's point, ultimately what Zin did was self-preservation, but the key to self-preservation is it's for yourself. So if you're willing to sacrifice yourself by not fighting back, does that create a better outcome for everyone involved? He was a child at this point. That's a very profound thing in a very tense moment. So it's a lot, right? And this is the whole point. It's a lot because this is a trial. It's a trial of the Twilight. It's supposed to be difficult.
Yeah, and as far as like with this current part of his vision, with his discovery, or the Demacians finding Zhen Zhao and Kalstead, we cover that a lot more in the bio. So if you want more of those details, go listen to the bio. There's a reason we did it for you.
Yeah. So the voice that tells him to rise now shifts him out of the shores of Kalstead to now the Demacian quarters of the king, and before him he sees J3, Jarvan III. And he's reminding him, as he sees him, he's like, King Jarvan. King Jarvan's like, whoa. It's sire or liege lord. Like, address me formally. You've been a little too loose lately. And Jarvan mentions to Zin, you've been bothering the master gardeners about this sapling thing and slacking on your duties. So, Zin's shocked by this tone. For one, this is not the relationship, but Jarvan mentions maybe you should take time off, go seek answers for this distraction, or go seek answers because you're obviously distracted. So go to your homeland, figure out what you need to figure out, and kind of turns his back on Jarvan after handing him, or turns his back on Zin after handing him the sapling. And Zin is perplexed since this isn't how this interaction happened. It wasn't this hostile.
And this is a great just point as far as just like kind of giving a reason to like pay attention to little nuances, body language, stuff like that, because otherwise like Zid Zhao could just be lost in the peyote sauce here.
Yeah.
But this is such an attitude shift for him that it sobers him up. He's like, hang on a second.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not J3.
Yeah.
That's not J3. I don't have to call J3 Liege Lord anymore.
Yeah, it gives him more signs of like, hey, you're in a trial. This is not, you're in a simulation. Wake up, Zin Zhao. Wake up, Zin Zhao. But that ends part one. In part two, we pick back up with Jarvan also telling him that he's releasing him from his oaths, right? So take the ship, go to your homeland. And he also mentions not to worry about Demacia, because as long as he's king, Demacia will be the beacon of hope for Runeterra. But behind Jarvan, as he's making this claim stands this large shadowed figure, which looks like a Darkin, and it's ready to strike him. And Zin calls out, but it's too late.
And as far as like the image that is behind him, it is very much like silhouette as far as just in the illustration. So we really don't have an idea as far as like who this is, what this is.
Yeah.
The only thing that really kind of points to Darkin is the weapon they're holding up has a giant eye in it, and it's like Soul Calibur, eat your heart out. Like it is. This is a level of storytelling that Soul Calibur can only dream of.
The slight tell. So after this being strikes down the king, Zin leaps into the air with action, throws his spear directly into the heart of this Darkin, immediately fells it, right? And the Darkin appears defeated, and Zin wonders if he failed whatever this test is, since J3 has been slain in this dreamlike sequence. And then another Darkin appears in front of him, insisting, yeah, you failed. And he's confused because this one is different.
And as far as with the jump, like, since it is still kind of more of like a dream thing,
Yep.
this is one of the few times that it's like we don't get a lot of Sakuga. Like, this is really just more of like a Call of Duty headshot.
Yeah.
Just like boom. But the depictions as far as what this Darkin looks like now that he's out of the light, very much just has all of the Demacian look of it. So it really gives off this vibe of someone being demon possessed more than just like the demonkin that we're familiar with.
Yeah.
And it kind of, with this, is one, like, makes me question, is this more of like what this demonkin's going to look like, or is it more of just Xin Zhao, his mind filling in the gaps? Because this is what a Demacian would think of when they think of demons. I mean, again, we have characters like Vayne and why am I blanking? Never mind, kill me.
Quinn,
but
maybe?
we have demon hunters and the Sentinels of Light that are part of the Demacian lexicon. So
Yes.
this is what a demon would look like to them, not necessarily a demonkin, though. So that's a really cool detail here that I appreciate, is that it looks like a Demacian demon, right?
Yep. And the Demacian it looks like is J4, Jarvan the third son, and also friend to Xin Zhao. And this demon has taken the form of, or this Darkin has taken the form of J4, and is telling Zin that the kingdom is now doomed, right? You not only lost your king, but you also, your friend is now possessed, and I am in control. And he mentions that Zin should have returned when he had the chance. And this is a reference to what we previously talked about before they went on this journey on the trials. You know, Yonara kind of told Zin, you should go home and check on Demacia, because you had a vision that involved Demacia, whether real or not, and he decided to stay and help the Kinku on this mission. So Zin is reminding himself during this interaction that this is only a test, it's only a test, it's only a test, but this Darkin keeps telling him, you're delusional.
It really is a lot harder to like sober yourself up, where it's like before, when it was J3, it was very much not in character, right? But this is a demon. You have no idea what this entity is, and this entity clearly knows a lot of intimate details about you.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to be like, this isn't real, this isn't real. And then like, hey, no. Remember this guy that you never mentioned his name or what he looks like, and all of a sudden I have his body? How do you think I got there? Like,
Zin, I like the detail. It feels like Zin's not handling this well. Like he's flubbing through it, which is a good sign for, or I like that type of storytelling where, you know, you expect the skilled guy to always be skilled in everything, but he's never done anything like this. And it's in a time when he's very stressed, a lot is going on, and he's kind of in over his head. And we're like, when you look at his facial expressions in this comic, he's never sure of himself, which I think is a good detail to
it returns the humanity to the hero story, right?
Yeah.
Like, instead of it being like Superman, like Xin Zhao is just a guy, right? Like he's very good at what he does, but overall he's still a guy,
and a guy with a lot of trauma.
With a lot of trauma, and just had to relive that trauma about 5 minutes ago. Like, it's a lot to process.
Yeah. So part 2 ends with Zin seeing, talking to this Darkin, and then seeing that sword left by the previous Darkin, which would have the Darkin inside of it, right? Don't touch the living weapon. We can't say it more than once. Unfortunately, like we said, Zin is very stressed. So he goes to touch the living weapon as a means to defeat this monster. And then he hears from the abyss, no, right? And it's Yonara there telling him that that's not the answer he's looking for. So he kind of is failing the test, right? You're not supposed to reach for the living weapon. And now he's in some building and she's in front of him. And that's where part 2 ends.
Yeah, and once Yunara calls out to him, it is 100% a complete scene change.
Yep.
Because now it's like whatever part of the spirit world that they were in, we don't have an answer as to whether they're fully out of the spirit world or if they're just in a different area. But like she gets him out of that scenery. It's just like, nah, you are done here. And unfortunately for Xin Zhao, he does have to go to the bottom of the list when it comes to heroes around living weapons, because he has less excuse than anyone else. This is a sword straight out of Soul Calibur with the eye just staring at him like, please grab me. What more signs do you need that the weapon's alive?
The serpent eye of all things. Like
The serpent eye of all things.
So this takes us to part 3, which is a shorter part, which is him and Yunara essentially conversing, and they both heard the voice, right? And Yunara's a bit confused since the trial is supposed to, or the Darken in the trial is guiding her here, but pushing Zin away. And she believes it's Zehen, but Yunara also believes this is him warning them again that he is willing to bring the end of the world. So she's juggling all these contradictions of what she understands the trials to be, how they've been conducted, and the fact that Zehen is somehow communicating with them both with different intentions. What does this all mean? She's having problems with that.
And I do love like this little conversation between them, because at no point does it really feel like there is a concrete answer. And that helps build the suspense a lot more, because even with them spitballing, yes, there was a point where Zehen is pushing Xin Zhao to leave, but he's also trying to get him to grab a living weapon, which is the opposite of leave. Yeah. That's straight up, come get me, right? So it really is nice and refreshing to see them both come out of this and really just have no clue what's going on, but they're just trying to do the best they can in the moment.
Yeah, and this is where Xin shines, right, as a character, as a person, is that Xin mentions that, of anybody, you understand his intentions the best. You fought alongside him for 3 years, right? You understand him more than anyone, and you're responsible for him. So whether or not he intends to harm can only be best judged by you. So she believes, after he says that, she's like, well, he saved Ionia. He put all his efforts in life into not only saving Ionia, but also Shurima. So that means there has to be some good left there. It can't be purely gone over such a short amount of time for her, right? Because of, we talked about how the time dilation works. And Xin smiles at that and tells her that, well, then we won't abandon him since you believe in his heart. And then they move forward, and that gives her the conviction. This scene, like I said, this is just one panel. This is one panel. This is the most one-on-one interaction we've had with these two characters, and so much is done.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
A lot.
Yeah.
Like this is really like the, as far as, despite everything that they've done up to this point, this is the first time that they really get to verbally trust into each other.
Yeah.
The only time that they've had any verbal exchanges before this was in not our last, or was it our last episode? No, I think it was the episode before that, where it's the side-scrolling game. Mm-hmm. And it's like throughout that game, they're kind of like throwing bits and pieces of like their story at each other, but it's ultimately they're fighting a bunch of demons, right? Like there's no time as far as to really get to know each other, but at the very least that does build up the rapport that that you can at least trust your back to this person. And this is the first opportunity that Xin Zhao gets to let Yunara know, hey, you got my back, I have your back. So what do you think about this guy? I will have your back with whatever you say, right? And that's the first time that she gets the process. Oh, like he trusts me as much as I trust him.
Yep.
And the fact that they were able to kind of condense that down into one panel is very well done.
Oh, dude, it's insane. It's and to your point, you made a great point about the situations of which they've had time to interact with each other, because this has been a short time frame over the couple stories, but not a lot of time has passed. And and that's kind of where this ends, by the way. So this is the general discussion section. To what point Hetch said, I kind of the concept I thought about was like getting to know someone in the middle of a concert for the first time versus getting to know someone over coffee at a coffee shop, right? It's two
Yeah.
different, like they just come out of the trials. They're in a point of calm before the storm. So Hetch mentioned this is the first time they get to interact with each other in a way where both of their personalities kind of shine. Because the one factor that Hetch brought up, which I thought, which reminded me, was like, Yanara is technically young, right?
She's a
And
kid.
yeah, she's a kid that also didn't have a lot of social experiment because, or so sorry, a lot of socializing because she was in the shrine. It wasn't a very popular shrine, right? And then when she got sealed away with Zehen, once again she's isolated. So she's been isolated. So she's never really had to trust in anyone but Zehen for most of her professional career, quote unquote.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah.
fortunately, like thanks to Kennen catching Xin Zhao up on what the actual tale of the Shrine Maiden is, like what the real story that inspired the legend is. We also know that like in the time frame of her time with the Kinku, the person she spent the most time with is Zehen.
Yeah.
Which is like, and we know that the time that she spent with Zehen was ultimately like, if he goes out of whack,
Yeah.
kill him.
Yeah.
Like that was her job as far as getting close to him. But that was the only person that she's gotten close to this whole time.
Yeah.
So and again, I mentioned it feels like on every episode of this installment, but we don't know how Yanara has processed the time gap.
Yeah.
Like we don't know if she felt this 1,500 years or not. And at the very least, like this kind of conversation to me points to her not feeling a full 1,500 years.
Yeah.
Like I think that for her that time was a lot faster because she definitely still seems more like a kid instead of a very wise person with zero social skills.
Yeah. And it once again, kudos are here. Like just their facial expressions, it's like in this last panel, it is Xin Zhao also realizing, okay, I pretty much flubbed this trial. And he was kind of distraught through it. But in this moment, he is technically the adult in the room, right? So he's reassuring her as someone who has experience in the real world with so much stuff when it comes to trusting and who not to trust. Listen to Xin Zhao's bio. That's his whole life, right? Has been this trauma built on, death, destruction, but in order for self-preservation to know who to trust when. I mean, the king that he serves, right, was once his enemy because of the people who stole him and forced him to serve for the, like, that's a lot of character growth there that Yanara has no access to. Her job was more important, right?
Xin Zhao, a journey of self-preservation, and then later diplomatic ties between two nations.
Yeah.
Yanara, the fate of the galaxy. Slight difference in scope.
Yeah.
Just the slightest difference in scope.
Yeah, but it's this is a big transition point for their relationship as far as, okay, she has the next person she's able to trust from this point forward, because even Kennen is more of a boss, right? Like he's more of the director of the company kind of thing. Like he doesn't, that's not a friend, that's not, yes, he's very wise, but there's no connection there. There's not that big of a gulf between Yanara and Xin, and I think that's expressed here. And just the way Xin approaches it is very Xin, right? He's kind of grounding her and letting her know that, yeah, you're about to make a big decision, but you're the only one that can do it. And you're not doing it with no information, right? So be confident and find conviction in that and go through with it, because his survival was based on him finding conviction in his choices, which goes back to his trials. That's all what all his trials were about, is you made these choices. Do you have conviction in them?
Which, like, ultimately, like, as far as for the reader, like, it does point to us, believing that Xin Zhao did pass his trial.
Yep.
Regardless of the us harping on him grabbing the living weapon, right?
Yeah.
Like, because again, we don't even know if like that was a real living weapon there, because we don't know what kind of powers Zahin has in this realm, or at least this place within the spirit realm. And just to reinforce your point, as far as like that being the scope of this installment of the comic book story, as far as like Xin Zhao reinforcing Yunara's convictions, not only can she not have that relationship with Kennen because of the nature of the Kenku Order, she's already reflected that she has no intention of having that kind of relationship, because the first thing she did when she got out of the spirit realm was take me to the manager.
Yeah.
I do not want to speak to my direct superior. I have words for upper management. Like, she went straight back to work. Like, so she has no intention of having this kind of relationship with Kennen. So it's very good as far as for, especially for a character of her age to be able to have someone that she could confide in like this, because especially if you're late high school age, you don't have faith in anything that you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, dude, 3 years ago I wanted to be an astronaut while I was flunking math. Like, I don't know shit. What do you mean? So to have someone like stand behind you and go remind you of everything that you went through, and then go, that's all that experience is, right? Like, what you were telling me is the experience. So who else do we turn to than someone with the most experience? That's a very important thing to learn for someone who is going into adulthood. So it's a refreshing slice of life in this otherwise demon-infested tale.
It's great. But you know what? I think at this point, after we've gone back and forth, this is probably one of my favorite panels out of the comics we've done. I think as far as execution within such a small, it's 5 panels. It's executed so well. But we'll leave it there. Because we've gone on a bit, obviously.
And we don't want to get into favorite panels, because I will fill in another 15 minutes going back to the Katarina comic. That's just not what the show's about.
It's not. We'll do a whole episode for that. Going through all the comic panels.
I swear, if we do an episode about that, and that's how we go viral off of it, I will quit. I will quit 100% if that happens.
But when we leave it here, we only have one more. I believe we have one more episode, and we're at the end of this journey. And that episode is actually going to be us covering a cinematic, which is like a 5-minute cinematic for Twilight's End. And it will all be worth it, because it's a very dope cinematic, and we'll break it down.
The cinematic is so good.
It's so good. And also,
even if you've watched it, like, I highly encourage you to go back and watch it with the context that these comics give, because holy cow, does it get even cooler when you know the context.
And the fact that this could be more revealed from the Welcome to Noxus situation we're still expecting in the future. So with all that, as always, thanks for listening, and we'll be back soon with the next episode of this series.
Take care, everybody.